Hello friends, it's Cindy Brumbaugh from CindyLeeBDesigns.com, independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. Today's card features a new bundle that's coming out in the Stampin' Up! Annual Catalog 2021 to 2022. It's on page 52, and it is called the Inspired Thoughts Bundle. It comes with this great sentiment set. I love the font in here with that nice crisp thin-lined font, and it comes with the inspiring canopy dies. So even though there aren't images in the stamp set, the dies are going to do a lot of work here on this card. So let's take a nice look at this card, or a look at this nice card. Let's get our words straightened out here, Cindy. And I use some blues and greens and some autumn colors on here. And I'm going to show you how I made this. It comes together pretty quick once you get all your pieces done. So what I did is I used these inspiring canopy dies. As you can see, there's a big die that cuts out the 4 trees. Okay, and you're going to see the cute little thing I did with the 3 on the front and 1 on the inside there. And it also has these dies that cut out the leaves. Now these leaves, when they're die cut, is kind of like the hydrangea bundle that we have, that you could actually pick up these little die cuts that go into the actual die cut. So that's a pretty cool thing. It gives a lot of texture to the card. So what I did for this card is, just when I was putting it together, I made a whole bunch of the pieces, and then whatever is left over, I'll just put in a little baggie and store it with my stamp set. So what I did is I used Cherry Cobbler and Cajun Craze and crushed curry. So what I did is I cut out, using the biggest die, 2 of each of those. And I just, like I said, just did that so that when I went to start to put this together, I'd have all the pieces that I wanted. So as you can see here, this card base is Early Espresso, and it's a half sheet, and it's 8.5 by 5.5, and I scored it at 4 1/4. And so let's just get those pieces out. I have them all ready for the card here, but we're going to keep this for reference over here. And one thing I did different is, when I first made this card, I noticed that this blue kind of looked plain and flat behind it. Even though I had the texture here, I wanted to add something here to this balmy blue. So what I did is I ran it through the Tasteful Textiles embossing folder. Now, did you ever get an embossing folder that ends up looking like this? Well, this is what will happen if you do not put an acrylic plate on top of your sandwich when you run it through your embossing machine. So you always want to have your sandwich with your base plate, and then whether it needs an acrylic plate or not, depending on what type of thickness your embossing folder is, but always have an acrylic plate on top, because if you put your acrylic plate on the bottom and another acrylic, and it still fits the sandwich is corrected, when you run it through, it will actually bend your embossing folder. They're still usable, and I'm going to try to put this under something really heavy, but it got ran through during a class as the top piece of a sandwich. So like I said, it still works, but if that is something that drives you crazy, just make sure you always have an acrylic plate as your top of your sandwich and your embossing machine. So what I did is I ran it through the Tasteful Textiles, and that is going to be kind of our panel that we're going to build upon. So then the next thing I did is I ran my leaves through my tree with the Early Espresso. So that was super simple. It die cut just beautifully. I pulled it out and just played around with it a little bit, a couple little pops with my take your pick tool, and it was perfect. So as you can see on here, is I wanted to skew my trees over to the left side, so I had a place to put my sentiment here. And what I did is I just decided where I wanted it to be. And I like that right here on this little upside down V here, this little mountain here, is where I'm going to actually have it come off of there. So what you're going to do is I'm going to put my craft mat underneath my work surface, because I know I might get a little messy, because I'm going to use my multi-purpose Tombow glue, liquid glue. So I'm going to put some glue on the back of this die on those 3 leaves that are actually going to be on the card. The trees, I keep calling them leaves. So let's pull this down, pull this up here. And then I'm just going to, now you could actually run this through on an adhesive sheet, but that might be a little bit hard to get. I want to just get this little piece out here. Okay, there we go. It might end up being a little bit hard to get it cut the whole way through. So I just like to put a few little dots here on the, oh, not on that part of the tree. Okay, and if you see any of these pieces, the little die cuts that, okay, now I can pull this out here. I'm gonna pull back my Balmy blue, and I know I wanna put my trees right on my Balmy blue embossed panel. Just get a nice little bit of pressure there. Hold it for a minute because it takes a little bit of time for that Tombow glue to adhere. Now what I'm going to do is turn it over, and I'm just going to trim this tree off here. I'm going to use a big piece of, a big set of scissors that I have, and these scissors are pretty cool. They're Westcott non-stick, and I do like that when I'm using sticky things, it's not sticking. So then I just go, and the reason I like using a long shears is because then it just has more cutting length there. So now I've got my trees there. Now, this is the tree we're gonna use on the inside, so we're just gonna set that aside for a second, or maybe not. Let's just go ahead, and on the inside of my card, I did Balmy blue as well. So what I wanna do is go ahead and put this leaf, this tree, not leaf, we're just going to put a little bit of glue on the branches of the tree, and I see a little piece here that needs popped out here. Okay, got that little piece of, and it's going to go right along that right edge of the inside. That way we know we aren't going to lose that, but we'll tuck it back in here. My next step on this card is to start putting my leaves on there. So at first when I went to put them on, I was having a little bit of a time with it. And then I just realized that these leaves actually fit. Like I was trying to do them a certain way, but they actually fit kind of on a curve like this. So what I'm gonna do is put some glue on the back. There's quite a huge thunderstorm going on outside. I'm wondering after this video is done if you're going to actually hear it, but it's kind of really majestic just hearing the powerful thunder out there. So we've got Cajun Craze there, and then I took this kind of neck-sized one, and this is the Cherry Cobbler, and I kind of put that one down here. So we're going to put a little glue on here, on the back of these leaves. I love autumn cards. I think that's one of my favorite color palettes. So then I just put on the Cherry Cobbler. Now, I laid all of these leaves colors all flat except for this Cajun Craze over here and the crushed curry here. So what I'm going to do is still continue to build over here. So then I went to another of the largest one of the canopy of leaves there, and I put it on the tree this way. There we go. And then with these, did I use this one? I took this one that's kind of the neck size down, and I put it kind of right along the bottom here because I knew I was going to put the Cajun here. So we're just going to do that. And really, you can do it whatever way you want. This is just what worked for me. I love that you could do all kinds of greens. You could do these autumn colors. You can play around with filling in your tree, as you can see. Now, I am going to pop in my Cajun Craze, and I'm going to lift it up here. Now, the one I did the Cajun Craze with was the second biggest one here, and I popped that one up. Now, the reason why I didn't already have this adhered is because I might trim some of this off. So I'm going to put this Cajun Craze here, but I wanted to pop it up. So what I'm going to do is I am actually going to use my bigger dimensionals on some spaces on here. So I just put a big dimensional there, 2 of them. And I am going to pop up that Cajun right there. Now I noticed there's a little bare spot here. So what I did is I took the littlest, tiniest one here, and I just snipped it. I'm just gonna snip it right there. And then I'm just going to pop it. Oh wait, I think I popped the other side in. Like I said, you'll just end up playing around, and I just wanted to get some more Cajun there. And I just put this flat. Wanted to show you like how versatile this is, that you really just can't go wrong with putting together these trees. Okay, so you can see I'm a little bare over here, so I'm going to put my yellow crushed curry. Oh no, look here, I used the smaller one here. And that's what's nice about playing around. Now this one's going to need some mini dimensionals to put it on. And that's what's nice about cutting a whole bunch of pieces, because I'm actually using, okay, let's get that off there. I'm actually using my one card as a, something to look at to remember how I did it. But you know how you make one card and you can't remember exactly how you did the next one? So this way, if you have a whole bunch of pieces, you can just play around with it. And then each card comes out a little bit different. So I wanted to have some Cajun Craze. No, I wanted to have some crushed curry popping up there. So it looks like I need a little more over here. So I'm going to take a little piece here, and I'm going to put that coming off of there. So let's just put a little glue on this edge here. And have it coming off right there. And then, like I said, you'll just come and snip off this edge here. So now we've got some, and what do you say? Do we need any more on here? I think we need a little bit right here, even though it looks pretty much exactly the way I did it. Okay, so we're just gonna leave it that way. Now you'll notice that there is a piece of green, a rolling grass on the front and on the inside. Now what I did is I took a 1 3/4 inch piece of garden green. So this is 1 3/4 inches by 5 1/4, just like the blue is 5 1/4 by 4. And what I did is I put the die that is in this canopy, inspired canopy dies, and I put it right down through the middle, and then I knew I could mix and match which either side I want to put that on. But I'm actually going to put this one that's just a tiny bit smaller right here on the outside of the card. And then this one will go on the inside. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my glue down along the edge and in the middle, but I'm going to kind of leave the top part of the rolling part of the hill a little bit not with glue. That way I'll be able to tuck some leaves in there. So let's just get this straight on this edge here. And then we're going to snip off again this garden green here. And then now we can put some leaves to add some color down along the grass. Now to do that, let's take a little cheat here at the card. I just did a couple little pieces I had, and I'll see I had this Cajun left over, so I just put a little bit of glue on the back of that, and now I can just kind of tuck it right into the grass. And there we go, got a little Cajun there. Let's put a little bit of our, I had this little piece left over here, so I'm going to put this little piece of crushed curry alongside of the Cajun here. There we go. And then let's put a little bit of some Cherry Cobbler. So we're just going to kind of cut off a little piece. Oh, I got some green stuck on there. Just going to cut off a little bit of a Cherry Cobbler, and then a little bit more of a crushed curry. And save all those little scraps because they are going to work out for, you know, decorating the card. Okay, so let's just tuck in a little bit of Cherry Cobbler there and a little bit of our, I love how these little cuts in, the little cuts that are into this die really look like the veining on the leaves. So there we go. So now we can actually adhere this to the front of our card. So what we're going to do is use our Tombow on the front, on the back, so we can put it on the front. But because it's embossed, you can go ahead and be generous with your glue. And then this 4 by 5 1/4 inch panel makes a nice 1/8 inch border all around all 4 sides of the front of your card. But since we are using glue, that means it is adhered. When you go to pull that apart, you're not going to be able to. Okay, so there we go. Wish I could have pushed my green over there a tad. Okay, so now we're going to put our cinnamon on here, and I chose to use the double oval punch that's got glue all over it. And what I did was I cut out a early espresso, and actually I might even, let me see here. Yeah, that's going to fit in there. I notice I must have had this. Oh, yes, I did. See, I have my tree over just a tad. Okay, so that's my early espresso there. And then I'm going to want to put the smaller oval that's layers into the kind of, I don't want to say that's scalloped because it's more pinked, I think, like pinking shears. So we're going to do our heartfelt sympathy. It seems like there just aren't enough sympathy cards when we need them. So what we're going to do is we're going to be, oh, I put the wrong cinnamon on here. Let me see here. I'm dropping things on the floor. Heartfelt sympathy. So we're going to, there we go. Heartfelt sympathy. Get it inked up. And we will put it on our white using Cherry Cobbler, and then we're going to pop it into our oval punch. And I knew I was going to go a little bit too low. If that's the case, sometimes you just have to cut off a little bit of the bottom so that it fits in. So here we go. Now we'll just put it into that smaller oval so it'll layer into our early espresso pinked oval, not pink oval, but a pinked edge. And so what I did is I used Tombow glue to just put this flat against the early espresso. Glue, cooperate. There we go. And then we'll put that right on the early espresso. And then I pop that up with dimensionals. And so we're going to put that here. We're going to get some dimensionals on that. Where did my big dimensionals go? Get my ink pad out of the way. Where are my big dimensionals? Okay, well, we will use my little dimensionals. So here we go. Let's just put a couple of these on here. Normally I would not use my little baby dimensionals on this, but I don't know how you can start a video that takes up, you know, 17 by 11 inches and lose something. I don't know. But if there's a way to do it, it's laying right here underneath my die. Okay. I should have a Vanna White that stands beside me and just hands me things. Okay. So we're gonna put that sentiment on the front so that we can see a little bit of blue around all the edges here. Bring it down just a little bit so we have a little bit of blue all around. So with Heartfelt Sympathy, and on the inside we are going to put our tree that we already put on here. And what I did was I went ahead and put some leaves on here and the green grass. So let's go ahead and put our green grass on with some Tombow there. Raise that up and put that on so we can see that it's flush with the bottom of the blue. Get the green over. I have a little bit of an edge there. And then bring that down. There we go, it's all flush. And then I can just snip off this excess here. There we go. And then I want to stamp the sentiment that coordinates with the Heartfelt Sympathy, and that was sheltering you with love at a time when words fall short. So I put it on one of my blocks that have grid lines on it so that I could watch the line on there. And if you don't have grid lines, you can just put a piece of masking tape or a piece of cardstock that makes yourself a line. Make sure you don't have any edges. And then say, please, Lord, help me get this straight. And there you go. And then we're going to put our leaves in there. So what I did is I started with my Cherry Cobbler. And as you can see, I have a lot left over here. I can make 2 cards out of this. I have all these little pieces left, but I tell you, it took me no time at all. The reason I'm picking this up is because I need to have my, there we go. And then I did some crushed curry. There we go. Da, 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 da. Okay, so let's get crushed curry there, and then I think this one I used the smallest of them because it gets a little bit down towards the bottom. Okay, there we go. Yes, put that stick there in place. And then we just turn this over and snip off the excess without cutting into the blue. How many times do you snip off the excess of something and you end up cutting into the actual cardstock? Oh, that just gets me all frustrated. So now we're going to take this and put it onto the inside of our card. And we're going to once again just put a little bit of glue. I'm going to put just a little bit of glue in the corners, because if I put maybe too much squiggly there, this cardstock, your colored cardstock, is thicker than Whisper White or Basic White. So you probably are not going to have the squiggles lines that people won't be able to, you know, that they would be able to see. And also, now before I do this, I want to see if I can get this green to move down a little bit. Nope, it's in place. I see a little bit of an edge there, but you know, that's one of the qualities that I kind of like about myself is I like things to be nice and straight. But the quality I don't like, I guess, would be the adverse of that, is I don't like it whenever I get frustrated over something that's not, like I can see this little bit of blue here, but I just need to realize that nobody else is seeing that. So there we go. And if you want to, you could put a couple little leaves down here too as well. But I just thought it was busy enough there. And then you can write a message up here. So I think it's just a really, you know, I think fall is a soothing time. It's a restful time. And I think that this makes a great sympathy card. And you can see the difference between a flat base on the front and a panel behind with some texture to it. And since we don't have the subtle embossing folder anymore, we're going to be using the Tasteful Textiles a lot this year, kids. So there you go, the new bundle coming out in the annual catalog, Inspired Thoughts, along with these great dies with this great tree. And this makes a great landscape line, and that's the Inspiring Canopy dies. Now you can start looking through your catalogs and making your wish list on May 4th, 2021 is whenever the catalog will be going live, and you can order this Inspiring Thoughts bundle. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to text me or call me, 724-323-2296. All of the colors, measurements, and products I use on this card will be on my blog, cindyleebdesigns.com. Underneath the YouTube video, you will see visit my blog here. Press that link. It'll take you over to my blog. You'll have additional photos and other tips that I might have for you to make this card. Thanks for buzzing by, friends.